The rain hammered down on the windshield of Emily's silver Mercedes as she gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white against the strain. It was 7:45 a.m., and she was already late for her shift at St. Mary's Hospital in downtown Seattle. Her red maternity dress clung to her swollen belly, the fabric damp from the downpour that had caught her halfway out the door. 8 months pregnant, every movement felt like wading through molasses, and today, of all days, her car had decided to stall on the side of Highway 99, just past the Aurora Bridge. She'd called her husband, Mark, 20 minutes ago, but his phone had gone straight to voicemail. He was probably already at the construction site in Bellevue, his crew depending on him to oversee the framing of a new high-rise. Emily didn't blame him for not answering. She'd told him last night she could handle the drive to work alone. "I'm not helpless," she'd said, brushing off his offer to drop her off before heading to his job. Now, stranded in the rain with no cell service and a dead battery, she regretted her stubbornness. The baby kicked hard, a sharp jab under her ribs, as if sensing her frustration. Emily pressed a hand to her belly, whispering, "Easy, little one. We'll figure this out." She glanced at the rearview mirror, hoping for a glimpse of a tow truck or a Good Samaritan. The highway was a blur of taillights and wipers, drivers too focused on their own commutes to notice a pregnant woman leaning against her car. Then, a pickup truck slowed, its hazard lights blinking as it pulled over a few yards ahead. The driver's door swung open, and a man stepped out, his leather jacket slick with rain. He was tall, with dark hair plastered to his forehead, and he moved with purpose, jogging toward her through the downpour. Emily tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the pepper spray in her purse. Seattle wasn't exactly known for its safe highways. "You okay?" the man called out, his voice carrying over the roar of passing cars. He stopped a respectful distance away, hands raised to show he meant no harm. "Saw your hazards. Need a hand." Emily studied him. He looked to be in his early 30s, with a kind face and a slight limp as he shifted his weight. His jacket was worn, his jeans faded, but his eyes were steady, concerned. "My car won't start," she said, her voice louder than intended to compete with the rain. "Battery's dead, I think. I'm kind of stuck." The man nodded, glancing at the Mercedes. "Mind if I take a look? I'm no mechanic, but I've got jumper cables in my truck." He gestured toward the pickup, a battered Ford with a toolbox in the bed. Emily hesitated. She was late, soaked, and increasingly uncomfortable, but she didn't have many options. "Okay," she said finally. "I'm Emily, by the way." "Jake," he replied, offering a quick smile before heading to her hood. He popped it open with practiced ease, peering at the engine as rain dripped off his lashes. Emily stood nearby, one hand on her belly, the other shielding her face from the downpour. The baby kicked again, and she winced. Jake noticed. "You good? You're not, like, in labor or anything, right?" His tone was half joking, but there was real worry in his eyes. "No, no," Emily said, managing a laugh. "Just late for work and having a minor meltdown. I'm a nurse at St. Mary's. Supposed to be there at 8. Jake whistled low. "Rough morning. Hang tight. Let's get this car going." He jogged back to his truck, returning with jumper cables and a flashlight. As he worked, connecting the batteries, he kept up a steady stream of conversation, as if sensing her nerves. "So, nurse, huh? Bet you see all kinds of chaos in the ER. Oh, ward, actually," Emily said, relaxing a fraction. "Lots of babies, not so much blood and guts." "Niece, you delivering your own kid there?" Jake asked, clamping a cable to her battery. Emily snorted. "God, I hope not. My ob's got that covered." She glanced at her watch. 7:52. Her charge nurse, Carla, was going to have her head. Jake finished hooking up the cables and signaled for her to try the ignition. Emily slid into the driver's seat, her dress sticking to her thighs. She turned the key, and the engine sputtered, then roared to life. Relief flooded her, but it was short-lived. The check engine light blinked on, and the car shuddered ominously. Jake, she called, leaning out the window. It's running, but something's wrong. Jake jogged over, peering at the dashboard. Could be the alternator. You're not gonna make it far in this thing. He glanced at the highway, then back at her. Tell you what. My site's 10 minutes away. I can drop you at the hospital, call a tow for your car. Sound good. Emily bit her lip. She didn't know this guy, but he'd already gone out of his way, and the rain was relentless. You sure? I don't want to mess up your day. I'm already late, Jake said with a shrug. Boss'll understand. Can't leave a pregnant lady out here in this mess. The words hit Emily like a punch. Can't leave a pregnant woman out here. She thought of Mark, who'd probably be furious with himself for not being here. She thought of the text she'd sent her boss, apologizing for the delay. And she thought of the baby, who deserved a mom who could keep it together, even on a morning like this. Okay, she said. Let's do it. Jake helped her into his truck, holding an umbrella he'd grabbed from his backseat. The cab smelled of coffee and sawdust, with a half-eaten breakfast sandwich on the dash. Emily settled in, her belly brushing the seatbelt as Jake slid behind the wheel. Street. Mary's, right? He asked, pulling back onto the highway. Yup. On Cherry Street. Emily glanced at him. You're a contractor. Carpenter, Jake said. Commercial jobs, mostly. Today's a big pour. Concrete for the foundation. My crew's probably cursing me out right now. Emily laughed, the tension in her chest easing. My charge nurse is probably doing the same. They fell into an easy rhythm, trading stories about bad commutes and worse bosses. Jake told her about the time he'd gotten stuck in a snowstorm on I-90, living off gas station jerky for 2 days. Emily countered with the night she delivered twins in a hospital elevator during a power outage. The rain slowed to a drizzle as they hit downtown, the Seattle skyline looming through the mist. At St. Mary's, Jake pulled up to the emergency entrance. Here you go, he said, throwing the truck into park. I'll call AAA for your car, get it towed to a shop. Got a preference? Anywhere reputable, Emily said, unbuckling. I owe you big time, Jake. Seriously. He waved her off. Just doing what any decent person would. Text me later. Let me know you're good. He handed her a business card. Jake Brennan, Brennan Carpentry, with a cell number scrawled on the back. Emily took the card, then, on impulse, hugged him awkwardly over the console. Thank you, she whispered. Jake patted her back, clearly surprised but not unhappy. Get in there. Save some lives, he said as she climbed out. Inside the hospital, Emily changed into scrubs in the locker room, her wet dress stuffed in a plastic bag. Carla raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions when Emily explained the car trouble. The OB ward was a whirlwind. 2 moms in active labor, one with preeclampsia, and a new admit who'd gone into preterm labor at 32 weeks. Emily dove in, her earlier panic replaced by focus. She checked fetal heart rates, coached a first-time mom through contractions, and held a trembling teenager's hand as she cried through her epidural. By noon, she'd forgotten about the morning's chaos. Then her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Cars at Mike's Auto on Denny. Alternators shot, but they'll have it ready by tomorrow. Hope you're dry. Jake. Emily smiled, typing back. You're a lifesaver. Owe you coffee. Or a baby onesie. His reply was quick. Coffee works. Onesie's negotiable. The rest of the day flew by. Mark called during her break, apologetic for missing her earlier call. I'm so sorry, Em. I should have driven you. It's fine, she said, meaning it. A guy helped me out. Car's in the shop. I'm good. Mark was quiet for a moment. Some random guy. A good one, Emily said firmly. I'll tell you about it tonight. That evening, Emily's Mercedes was still at the shop, so Mark picked her up. Over dinner. Takeout Thai, because neither felt like cooking. She told him about Jake, the jumper cables, the ride to the hospital. Mark listened, his brow furrowed, but he didn't push. Sounds like you had an angel today, he said finally, kissing her forehead. The next morning, Emily's car was ready, and she drove herself to work, the alternator humming smoothly. She texted Jake to thank him again, and he responded with a thumbs up emoji and a promise to collect on that coffee. She didn't think much of it. Seattle was full of fleeting connections, kindnesses that didn't need follow-up. But a week later, Emily was back on Highway 99, heading to a prenatal appointment, when she spotted a familiar pickup at a gas station. Jake was filling up, his toolbox open in the bed. On impulse, she pulled in, rolling down her window. "Hey, stranger," she called. Jake looked up, grinning. "Nurse Emily." Car holding up. Like a champ. She hesitated, then said, "Coffee's on me. You free now?" He glanced at his watch. "Got 20 minutes before I'm due on site. There's a diner across the street." They sat in a booth at the Rusty Mug, Emily with a decaf latte, Jake with a black coffee that looked strong enough to strip paint. They talked about everything and nothing. Her craving for pickles and ice cream, his love for old school punk, the way Seattle's rain made every job site a swamp. Emily learned Jake was a single dad, his daughter, Lily, a precocious 7-year-old who loved dinosaurs. Jake learned Emily and Mark were high school sweethearts, married 5 years, and terrified of becoming parents. "You'll be great," Jake said, stirring sugar into his coffee. "You've got that calm under pressure thing. Saw it when you were standing in the rain, ready to fight the world." Emily laughed. "I was panicking. Didn't look like it." They exchanged numbers, promising to stay in touch. Emily didn't expect much. Just a new friend, a story to tell her kid someday about the day a stranger saved her in the rain. But life, like Seattle weather, had a way of surprising you. A month later, Emily went into labor at 39 weeks, right in the middle of a night shift. Mark was stuck in traffic across the Sound, and Carla, ever the pragmatist, called the one person Emily had mentioned in passing who might be closer. Jake. He arrived in under 15 minutes, still in his work boots, and held Emily's hand through the contractions until Mark burst through the door. Their daughter, Sophie, was born at 2:17 a.m., screaming like she'd already seen the world and had opinions about it. Jake visited the next day, bringing a tiny onesie with a T-Rex on it. "For the kid," he said, grinning at Mark, who shook his hand like they were old friends. Emily watched them, her heart full, and thought about that rainy morning on Highway 99. One stalled car, one kind stranger, and a chain of moments that led to this. A new life, a new friendship, a story she'd tell Sophie when she was old enough to understand. Years later, when Sophie asked why her middle name was Jacqueline, Emily would smile and say, "Because of a man who wouldn't leave a pregnant woman out in the rain." And somewhere across town, Jake would tell Lily about the nurse who changed his faith in people, one jumper cable at a time.